Hello and welcome to UEFA Nations League match day 1 after the Euros. We are looking forward to the first international break. Nations team football are back and we have European champion Alvaro Romeo. Hello, Alvaro. And we have Ronan Murphy. I'm sure you are looking forward to watching Ireland-England, Ronan.
I am. Yeah, it'll be great to see Ireland-England because we have a former Ireland international on the pitch and a former Ireland international in the dugout for England. So it'll be very exciting.
Well, that game is going to be on Saturday and we are going to analyze that game. We've picked the best 8 games, in our opinion, of this match day 1 in the Nations League. So remember, guys, leave your comments, press the like, subscribe. Let's go on with the show. On Thursday, we start with European football, and the first stop is going to be in Portugal. We have Portugal, Croatia. What a game this one, League A, of course, and we have Portugal. We can say the Euros were disappointing for both teams. The first international tournament for Roberto Martinez coaching Portugal, and they failed, we have to say, lost to France in penalties, but they were unable to score in the last 3 games. For Croatia is exactly the same or even worse. They couldn't reach the knockout stages in a group with Spain or Italy. Remember, they conceded in the very last minute. Alvaro, are we going to see some changes in Portugal, in Croatia, same old guys in both nations?
Well, I'm going to disappoint everyone now. No, the answer is probably no. I think that the biggest example of that is that Cristiano Ronaldo is still in the Portuguese squad, despite not having had a very good Euro. But the man doesn't want to retire or leave the national team, and Roberto Martinez doesn't want to drop him. But I think that there will be not many changes in this Nations League in general, because if you look at the 24 teams that played in the Euro, only 3 of them changed managers. And one of them was 𝐜𝐭𝐿 who had been in England for 6.5 years. So I think it was his time to go. But then only Denmark and Romania changed managers from all the 24 teams that played the Euro, which is a ridiculously low amount of managerial changes. Normally after a Euro or after a World Cup, there are more managerial changes. And this game is the game of continuity as well. Portugal and Croatia, same managers, very similar squads. Maybe in Portugal, the most remarkable absence is Pepe, who retired in summer, as you may remember. Cristiano is still there, as I said. Portugal are the first winner of this tournament, the Nations League 2019. And there are a few youngsters, of course, coming up, like, for example, Veiga, who plays for Chelsea, 𝐻𝐭𝐿, a player who is 17 years old, and he was in the, I believe that the best lineup of the Under-17 World Cup as well. But, you know, generally speaking, I don't expect many changes. They are going to play very similarly. Croatia will try to keep possession, keep it tight. Portugal is going to try to attack more because at home they do it. And normally at home, they score a very decent amount of goals. In fact, the only times that they were scoreless at home, it was in 2021 and in, let me tell you exactly when, 2022 2020 and 2022, when Spain snatched a 1-0 victory in Portugal, and when France in 2020 snatched a 1-0 win in Portugal too. But generally speaking, Portugal scores many goals at home. That said, Croatia, again, they never lose for big margins, with exceptions like, for example, the game against Spain in the Euro, which was for me an exceptional scoreline because Croatia deserved much more than that day against Spain. So I'm going to back Croatia with a positive handicap. I am happy to go with the Asian handicap plus 0.75 for them, meaning that if Croatia wins, you win. If they draw, you win. And if they lose by 1, you only suffer half a lose. And I am even more than ready to go up to Asian handicap plus 1 for Croatia anyway. But yeah, I will stay in those margins. I think that Portugal could win this game potentially or not lose it. But I think that Croatia, if they lose it, is going to be for a tight margin.
Funny what you said about the managers, because we were analyzing South American football in the 𝐿𝐵𝐵, and Leo was telling us that many managers, many teams changed their manager after the Copa America, even teams that made a good tournament, like Ecuador, is not happening. With Portugal, Roberto Martinez tied with Cristiano Ronaldo, a lot of criticism because he was more like a foreign minister rather than a coach without taking any decisions. And we have, of course, 𝗀𝗏𝗏 still in Croatia, Ronan.
Yeah, 𝗀𝗏𝗏, it's a surprise, I think, that him and a lot of the elder generation of Portugal or Croatia have stuck around. We thought maybe Modric might retire and focus on his club career, but that hasn't happened. Obviously, he's still such a key name for them. Even 𝗀𝗏𝗏 is even in the squad, and he doesn't even have a club at the moment. So, yeah, it seems to be that these teams, they don't know when to retire. Pepe is obviously the only one that's retired, but Ronaldo, he came out, he was insistent that when he quits the national, won't tell anyone in advance at the moment. What I want to be able to do is help to sell us out. And I don't think he does help the team. I don't think the team are stronger with him in it. And that's something that Martinez has to decide, is whether his best 11 includes Ronaldo. And a lot of us looking on and watching the Euros would think no. And even seeing him kind of defending his performances after about the goals he scored at the Euros, but the goals he scored were penalties, but he seemed to be counting those as goals. So Ronaldo continues to be a distraction over Portugal, and that's not really going to help them. So like Alvaro says, I think Croatia do have a great chance here, and we saw the Croatia, they never kind of allow too many goals themselves. Portugal never allowed too many goals, so I think it's going to be a close enough game, but I think it could be a low-scoring game. So I like the look of a draw for this one. 4.20 looks good to me. Correct score 1-1 is 7.8. So those both look like good options. Both teams to score have happened in all their meetings in the past 5 years. So I think that looks like the best one, because it's hard to say that Portugal are definitely going to win this one. Like both of us have said, so both teams to score, yes, looks like the best option for me, coming in at just over 2.
Probably we won't see many goals, I think, in this international break, taking in consideration that it's coming very early in the season. Well, this is Group 1, League A. Also Poland and Scotland are in this group. On Thursday, we have another interesting game in Group 4. We've chosen Denmark, Switzerland. Alvaro was saying that one of the teams that changed manager was Denmark. 𝗂𝗏𝗏 𝗀𝗏𝗏 stepped down, and Morten Weghorst, sorry if I pronounce this badly, is the new interim manager. Denmark was disappointing also in the Euros. 3 draws in the group stages and lost to Germany in the last 16. Switzerland, on the other hand, were great, lost to England only in penalties after beating Italy in the last 16 round. One of the key players that we are not going to see more in international duty is Shaqiri. Ronan, big news.
Yeah, obviously he is looking to prolong his career on like maybe Modric thinks he can still perform at the highest level. We've seen Shaqiri, he's had a kind of a dream move during the summer coming home, so he's going to focus on his international career. But Christian Eriksen, 𝗂𝗏𝗏 𝗀𝗏𝗏 are still around for Denmark. So like Alvaro said, we're not seeing a lot of change in the squads, in the lineups, as similarly with the changes in the dugout. Maybe Denmark have changed their coach, but they've only a few kind of uncapped players coming in. Matt O'Reilly had to pull out due to injury after his big move to the Premier League, and they've brought in Salzburg, Moritz Kjærgaard instead of him. He's called up for the first time, and there's 3 uncapped midfielders in the Denmark squad, but it's unlikely that they're going to risk starting any of these. So is the Nations League something that you aim to kind of win, or you aim to use it as the building blocks for the World Cup? And it depends what these managers are out to do. And obviously Denmark, with a new man who's looking for the job in the long term, they'll be determined to kind of prove their worth. But Switzerland, as we've seen at the Euros, this is a team that are hard to beat. They've scored in each of their last 8 games, and the last scoreless one was back in March. So this is a team that has lots of goals, kind of, or they continue to score goals, they continue to attack, they continue to kind of to surpass expectations, or the expectations in the outside of people who maybe never think of them as a top seed or a top 10 team in the world, but they continually kind of perform to that level and remain a team that gets to knockouts of tournaments. So they are a team that's hard to beat, and I like the look of a draw again in this one, because both teams here are hard to beat. A draw of 3.5, 1-1 again is 7, but I don't think this is going to be another high scoring game. There's been 5 draws in Switzerland's games in 2024. 3 of those are 1-1 draws. So I like the look of total goals under 2.25, and that's 2 here.
Yeah. I think we are gonna see a lot of unders. Usually, Denmark, they are competitive when they are playing at home in the Parken, Alvaro.
They are, and they are unbeaten at home for a long time. The last time they lost, it was against Croatia 2 years ago. So when they are at home, they tend to stay competitive. They've got a decent squad. Real shame, as Ronan said, that Matt O'Reilly picked an injury, because he hasn't been able to play for Brighton more than half a game. No Christensen either, who is still an important defender in the team, but Christensen is out in Barcelona, and that's why Barcelona could register Dani Olmo, by the way, because Christensen picked an injury. Probably you remember that. But I think that Denmark was slightly underwhelming and disappointing in the Euros. They didn't win a game. It's true that they drew against England, but then they were beaten easily by Germany. I think that Denmark was far better in Euro 2021 than they were in Euro 2024. I think that there is a little bit of a decline in there. Let's see how the new manager does. As Ronan said, there is a chance for him to build a team for the next big tournament. But some of the faces are still the same faces. And Christian Eriksen, 𝐬𝐭𝐴 will probably command in that midfield. And I wonder if they are going to be good or fit in 2 years' time, especially Christian Eriksen. I think that sometimes he looks like his legs are a little bit gone, even though he's a very good footballer. And when it comes to Switzerland, look, continuity. Again, I think that they've got a good project, a good manager with Murat Yakin. Not only Shaqiri is not there, also Sommer. So it's been basically 10 years of Switzerland playing with Sommer as a goalkeeper. We're not going to see it anymore because he retired from international football to focus on his club. But Switzerland is a little bit of the reverse opposite of Denmark in the Euros. They didn't lose a game in 90 minutes. And they beat Italy 2-0 with really good performances from Remo Freuler, for example, or 𝗵𝐵𝐶𝐻. He was one of the most interesting footballers for me in the Euros, playing on the left, but being like a fake winger. I think that Switzerland has a better project right now than Denmark, but I am totally aware that it's not easy to win in Danish soil. So I'm going to go for a double chance for Switzerland, 165. Otherwise, I can go up to Asian handicap plus 0.25 for the Swiss. That pays 186. If they draw, you get only half a win, but if they win, you win. And of course, Switzerland winning, 325 is good money. But I am more than happy staying in the parameters I said before.
Yeah, could be easily a draw, actually, with Denmark playing well at home. Switzerland always competitive, even against big teams in this group. We also have Serbia, Spain. The next game we are going to analyze. Spain, European champions, also Nations League champions. Remember, so the first game after the crown they got in Berlin is in Serbia. Always tough to go to the Balkans and play there, even if Serbia in big tournaments, they are always disappointing, and as they were in the last Euros, only 2 draws against Slovenia and Denmark. For Spain, Alvaro, as we can imagine, not many changes. The only one, Jesus Navas, the only World Cup champions in the squad, is retired from international duty. At the end of the year, he will retire from football.
It was about time, right? I think.
Yeah. But he is still good, actually.
Yeah, and don't forget that he played against France, and he did a very important tackle to Rabiot in the first half of that game. Thanks to that tackle, Mbappé didn't have an open goal chance against Unai Simon. So credit to Jesus Navas. Spain will keep the style that they made them champion. The core of the best players are still in this list of Luis de la Fuente, with the exceptions of Morata or Unai Simón, for example. Unai Simón is not going to play football probably until December or even January 2025. So probably David Raya will be in goal. David Raya has been really good for Arsenal at the start of the season. The save of the season is the one he did probably to Ollie Watkins a week ago. New additions for Spain, Mingueza, who I never thought that he was going to be so good crossing the ball. Pepelu, he plays for Valencia, he's young. Alex, he plays for Bayer Leverkusen. Jeremy Pino, we know him. He's been on and off. He had an ACL injury last season. But, I think that Luis de la Fuente also wants to try a few players. I can understand why. Spain has no pressure whatsoever. They are the current champion. If they don't win this tournament, it's going to be fine. But still, I'm pretty sure that there will be non-negotiables. And no matter who is on the pitch, Spain is going to keep their style. And the truth is that Spain normally doesn't lose away. And if you look at their qualifying campaigns for the World Cup or for the Euros, yes, they can make the odd mistake. I remember them losing in Northern Ireland in 2006, losing a few games here and there, losing, for example, to Scotland. But generally speaking, they are competitive away as well. Whereas Serbia, for me, they are a little bit anti-competitive. And I am really sorry to say this. But they've got good players. They've got players that everyone know, players that every summer look like they are going to go to a bigger club and blah, blah, blah. But then they don't fulfill their potential. And even in the Euros, they were very rigid as well. And probably one of the games that England won easier in the Euros was against Serbia in the first round. And don't get me wrong. I think that individually, some of the players are very good. The manager 𝐿𝐵𝐼𝐾 is still there. Same coach, therefore. And there are a few players who are playing really well at the beginning of the season. For example, Ivan Ilić has been really good for Torino. Nedeljkovic, I want to see him. He plays for Aston Villa. He's 18 years old. And if 𝐿𝐵𝐼𝐾 pays money for these guys because he must be good. But Mitrovic is not in the squad. And Vlahovic, due to personal issues, is not in the squad either. And if any type of player, if any profile of player makes Spain suffer, is the big, bulky striker who can actually head the ball. I remember 𝐿𝐵𝐾 in the Euro playing against Spain, and Spain suffering a lot to mark a player like 𝐿𝐵𝐾. And Vlahovic and Mitrovic, who are this type of player, are not there. So I'm going to back Spain to win it, 162, because I think that Spain are better, simple as that, and I don't mind the atmosphere. Spain is used to these atmospheres too. Otherwise, Spain to win the second half. This is where the money is for me. 195.
Good start for Vlahovic, also good start for Torino in Serie A. Lamine Yamal is also in form. Ronan, after the summer, do you also see Spain as favorite, keeping this continuity, especially playing good football as we saw in the Euros?
Yeah, and I think all of us that watched the Euros, and we said it on the shows during the Euros, that Spain were the best team at the Euros. They were the most exciting team. They deserved to win the Euros. It wasn't this kind of anti-football that we were seeing from Deschamps and Southgate with France and England. It was attacking, exciting football, and only them in Germany kind of played the way that you grew up when you were a child watching football, and the teams that you remember were exciting teams like this. So you would hope that Spain can continue this, and this continuity will serve them well. And I think it's a good place to go. Obviously, like you said, going to Serbia is a difficult away trip, but Serbia at the moment aren't as good perhaps as in the past. They've only won twice in 2024, beating Sweden, and then they were only able to beat Cyprus 1-0. They haven't been scoring lots of goals. They only scored 2 at the Euros. And like you said, they're missing the 2 big men up front. So their goal scorers, their goals will have to come through 𝐬𝐭𝐵𝐼𝐾. And he's the only player in the squad who has more than 4 international goals to date. So it's hard to see them get goals from anywhere. And this Spain team, like Alvaro said, they have great attacking talent. They've obviously left Morata at home and to see what else they have up front, but I'm not sure they've rested them in favour of younger forwards. Joselu and Perez are both 34 and 31, so they're not looking to the future with them perhaps, but like the younger players around the team, the Williams, Yamal, all these sort of players can get lots of goals. And I think Spain to win, it's hard to look past it. Like Alvaro said, the odds 1.62, they look great for Spain to win. I also like the look of Spain to score in both halves, 2.7, because I think they could win this one comfortably. I think they should win this one comfortably. So my overall tip for this is Spain Asian handicap minus 0.75. So that's 1.82.
Okay, also remember Spain won the last Nations League in the penalties against Croatia. It's important, the Nations League, also to qualify for the next Euros with so many minor teams like Georgia and some others qualifying via the playoffs. They should qualify directly for the next Euros, and it's the best game we have in this weekend. The two World Cup champions, France, Italy, on Saturday. Still not many changes in both sides, despite the disappointing tournament, especially for Italy. I would say Spalletti failed in the Euros, was his first big tournament as Azzurra manager, and they did a really bad group stages, and then they didn't compete against Switzerland. Some changes in the squad. Ronan, we are seeing Tonali back after his suspension for gambling. 𝐬𝐿𝐴 𝐾𝐿, for instance, for France. Also, the usual suspects, perhaps the big name in is Olise, the big name out is 𝐬𝐵𝐵𝐿.
Yeah, there hasn't been too many changes. Well, you didn't mention Oli Giroud retiring. He's obviously a big name gone from France too. Totally. What a legend! One of the most handsome players in football is gone from our TV screen. So it'd be disappointing not to see him. And so France are missing another few kind of players that we're familiar with seeing. Pavard, 𝐬𝐵𝐴, Coman. These are all out, and Adrien Rabiot still.
Now 𝐬𝐿𝐴 as well.
Yeah, 𝐬𝐿𝐴 as well. And Rabiot still doesn't have a club, so he doesn't have a country or a club this weekend. So unless someone decides to pick him up, he could still be left on the scrap heap for another while. But yeah, I think France kind of are a team who need to prove themselves after the Euros, because they only scored 3 goals at the Euros. They were really disappointing in a lot of the games. They didn't kind of show up. We didn't kind of see the attacking flair that they have. Mbappe wasn't the Mbappe that we expected, but now that his move to Madrid has gone through, you would imagine that isn't hanging over him anymore. He's got off the mark as well for Madrid. He's got 2 goals now after 4 games. I know they both come together, but he will maybe be more confident now than if he hadn't broken that duck before this game. And I think Italy, they let themselves down at the Euros, like you said. They were just kind of very inconsistent. They were all over the place with some of those results. And I think looking through the squad, like I said, with one of the other teams earlier, with Serbia earlier, they don't have a lot of any international goals. They don't have players who are used to scoring at this level. There's no player in the squad with more than 6 international goals, which is kind of crazy for a team like Italy when you think about it. Raspadori and Pellegrini are the only 2 players with 6, and nobody else has any more than that. And if you look at the total goals throughout the squad, they only have 33 goals between the entire panel, and Mbappe has 48, Griezmann has 44. So this is a team that you struggle to see where the goals are going to come from for them. And France, on the other hand, they have a point to prove, because their Euros was so disappointing that they kind of need to show that they are one of the world's best teams again. And Italy are a team that have been in and continue to be in transition. So I think France win is hard to look past. It's 1.74, 1.70, somewhere around there. It's hard to see past that, and it's hard to see where Italy will get any goals in this game. They've only had 2 games in 2024 that have had over 2.5 goals in them, and France similarly, they haven't been in high scoring games either. Only one of their last 7 games had over 2.5 goals. So for this one, I'm looking at total goals under 2.5 as the tip, which is disappointing considering the fact that on paper France versus Italy should be the most exciting game this weekend.
Well, but France offensively was so poor in the Euros. We were always criticizing them because they couldn't create any football. And Italy, Alvaro, in the last 4 years, there is no reason to be optimistic since they were crowned European champions in Wembley.
Yeah, I agree. Let's see if Federico Chiesa in Liverpool can raise his level and become the player he was again. But Ronan was mentioning the lack of scorers in the Italian squad, and it's absolutely true, even though I have to say that if you look at the all-time Italian charts, Italy has never had a very, very good scorer, at least in the national team. In fact, yeah, the highest ever scorer of Italy is still Luigi Riva with 35 goals, which is ridiculous if you compare it with Harry Kane scoring over 50.
Robbie Keane for Ireland, 67.
There you go. And Italy, for example, Roberto Baggio, 27 goals. Alessandro Del Piero, 27. Inzaghi, who was a number 9, 25. Christian Vieri, 23. But I totally agree with the point in the sense that from this current squad, I don't see any striker that they say, wow, this is going to be the next big thing. Retegui, in fact, is there. The Argentinian-born striker. He got a very good start of the season, I have to say, 3 goals. But still, I don't think that Italy poses a threat. This is the worst thing about them. In the Euros, they had to play very well to win their games, and sometimes they didn't, even though there was an epic moment with Calafiori's run and that goal against Croatia. But, there is no Barella, who in my opinion is the best Italian midfielder. Good thing that Sandro Tonali is back. I'm sure that as the season goes by, he will get better. But France, for me, is the favorite. France to win. Here in the group of death, probably, by the way, because Belgium is still here. In this group 2, in the group A2. But, France doesn't have many midfielders right now because you say that there are injuries like Camavinga, 𝐿𝐿𝐵𝐴, N'Golo Kanté is still there. Barcola is having a very good season. I expect him to be important for France at some point. Kylian Mbappé, Marcus Thuram, the top scorer of the Serie A so far with 4 goals. France has enough firepower to beat Italy, and they are playing at home on top of that. And France is quite reliable. I know that they have had their hiccups here and there, like losing, for example, against Croatia at home not long ago in the Nations League, but I think that they are the favorites. France to win 171.
Belgium and Israel are the other 2 teams in this tough group. On Friday, we are going to go to League B for those that want to watch good football. We are going to do a stop in Slovenia for Slovenia-Austria because we enjoyed them in the Euros and we think it might be a really good game. Slovenia, one of the surprises, lost to Portugal in penalties after drawing all the games in the group stages, including England or Denmark. In the road to the Euros, they were very strong at home, and Austria also were great, especially in the group stages of the Euros, beating Netherlands, for instance, but lost to Turkey in the last 16 round. Good odds to back somehow Slovenia, Alvaro, as I said, because they are a good home team.
Yeah, I agree. Slovenia in the Euros were competitive. They had basically something that is very, very needed in a football team. A very good goalkeeper like Jan Oblak, who may not be having his best ever form, but still for Slovenia, he performed very well in the Euros. And a striker like 𝐿𝐴𝐴, who could score more goals, but he's a focal point, he's a good striker, he holds the ball, he's fast. So with those 2 ingredients, plus a group of journeymen, some of them quite decent as well, you have enough to be competitive in a Euro or in a Euro group stage at least. And Austria with Ralf Rangnick, I think that they were naive, but they were entertaining. And they scored many goals away. Looking at their numbers, the last time they didn't score a goal away, it was in 2022. But ever since then, they have played 9 games away, and they have scored in all of them, or in away or in neutral venues, playing tournaments like the Euros. So I think that Austria is going to score a goal, and I do believe that Slovenia can do that as well. So I'm going to back both teams to score here, 175. No big absences, I have to say. So the usual suspects for Slovenia, also for Austria. We know their best players, starting by Marcel Sabitzer, who has been legendary for the team, Grealish, Arnautovic is still there. So I think that the quality is there for both sides. They know that Norway is probably one of the biggest threats in this group, so they better start well. So I'm going to go for both teams to score, because Austria, as I said before, they have scored many goals lately, and they haven't been scoreless for a while, with the exception of their game against France in June 2024, which is normal not to score against France, really.
Kazakhstan and Norway are the other two teams in this group. Perhaps we see another low-scoring game. Perhaps we see another draw. Ronan, your 1-1 could be another option. If we are looking for an exact score market.
No, I'm actually going for a slightly different exact score market here because Austria, they won. They tend to score lots of goals, and like Alvaro said, both teams have scored in the last 3 games before the Euros. They got both teams to score in every game except one at the Euros. That was the game against France. So both teams to score. Looks great in this one, but Austria have scored 2 or more times, 5 different times this year. So I think Austria under Rangnick, like Alvaro said, they can be a bit kind of gung-ho at times. They can kind of be a bit naive sometimes out their play, but that makes for much more entertaining matches, and it makes for much more entertaining games. And I think there will be goals in this one. So the correct score I'm going for is 2-1 to Austria at 9.5. I like to look at that because Austria tend to score 2 goals, so that ties into total goals over 2.5. That's a 2 option. And then my overall tip for this, I think Austria can pull something out here. So Austria Asian handicap -1/4, minus at 1.95. I think it looks good. I think Austria can get something from this trip to Slovenia, and like you said, they need to start well because Norway are in this group, and Norway, having not been at the Euros, they need to bounce back because otherwise they're wasting Erling Haaland and Martin Odegaard. They're wasting these prime players.
Well, probably they are wasting them. Also, this day we have Wales, Turkey, but we are gonna jump into the games we have on Saturday. Georgia, Czech Republic, League B, Group 1, with Albania and Ukraine, because we had fun with Georgia, we must say, in the Euros. So we want to analyze them after the win against Portugal, after the defeat against Spain in the last 16 round. Now they are playing at home. I'm sure it's gonna be a good party in Tiflis, and the odds are good to back somehow Georgia playing against Czech Republic, Ronan.
They are really good, over 3.5 for a Georgia win here, which looks surprising considering that Georgia looked good against Czech Republic at the Euros. It was a 1-1 draw in that game, and you wouldn't have been surprised had they come away with the win. So I think this is a team that's very capable of winning on home soil. They'll obviously be boosted by the fact they're returning home after such a successful Euros for them, for a country of their size. They've seen the importance of the Nations League because that's how they got to the Euros. So they won't be looking at this as something we can build on for the future. This will be a tournament where it's something we can use to increase our standings, help us qualify for tournaments. The Nations League, whereas a lot of maybe the bigger teams might write it off as, oh, it's international break, or some of the fans of club football might be kind of tired when the Nations League comes around. Do we really need it? Teams like Georgia have shown kind of just how important it can be. So they will be kind of determined to get something from it. And looking at the squad, they have kind of world-class players in it. They have a new Liverpool goalkeeper, well, next year anyway, he's between the sticks, and they have a great striker who we saw at the Euros kind of score lots of goals and get a move to Lyon after it. And 𝐿𝐵𝐶𝐞𝐿 could be the kind of signing of the summer, 18.5 million. He could be a great signing for them, and other teams could be looking around and thinking, why didn't we sign this guy? So I think Georgia have a great chance here. I think they have every chance of taking maximum points. I like the look of a Georgia win. I like the look of a Georgia 2-1 win at 12. I think this could be a very exciting match. If I wasn't going to the Ireland-England match on Saturday, I'd probably tune into it, but I have other priorities. So I'll just keep an eye on the score apps coming through and hope that both teams to score yes comes through for me, because that's 1.8. I like to look at that one.
I'm surprised, Alvaro, to see Czech Republic as favorites, 2.2, as Ronan was saying. Georgia, the underdog, look at the odds, 3.5, the highest odds to back Georgia to win.
I'm going to back them. Georgia to win 330. I like that. I will be more than happy. I am more than happy to put my money in there. If my conservative side ends up being more powerful than my brave side, I could go for a double chance for Georgia as well. 173. I like it. They're playing at home. They were I want to see more of Georgia. I mean, this is probably the best compliment you can give to a football team. I mean, I want to see more of them because they were very entertaining in the Euros. Their counterattacks were amazing. There was an element of surprise in them. What I like about Georgia is that they unroll their dormant attackers very well. I mean, it looked like 𝐿𝐵𝗲𝗍𝐿𝐴, 𝐿𝐵𝗿𝐿𝐴 weren't there. And suddenly, when Georgia got the ball, two players, they were just running forward towards a four-man defense and they were dismantling that defense. They scored a goal against Spain like that, for example, even though it was a known goal, but they were really, really threatening and dangerous in the counterattacks. I don't know if at home they can play like that as much as they would like to, because of course the supporters will want maybe more attacking football, but at home they've been very good lately. In their last 13 games at home, they have only suffered one loss. And their last game at home in Georgia, in their country, it was a 0-0 draw against Greece, and then they qualified for the Euros in penalties. So I think that Georgia has to be considered the favorite for this game, or at least we have to think that there is no reason to believe that they will lose. If anything, they will draw. So that's why a double chance for Georgia, 173 is very good. Just very quickly on the Czech Republic, no big changes for them either. Same manager, again. Same thing applies to Georgia with 𝐬𝐵𝐴 as their coach. But the Czech Republic away from home, they've been a little bit disappointing, poor, low-key. In fact, they only got 3 wins away from 2022 onwards. And it was against Faroe Islands, another game that I cannot recall right now, and against Norway. But generally speaking, when they play against a difficult opposition, and I believe that Georgia are right now, they tend to draw or lose. So even though they've got 𝐿𝗵𝐿𝐴 in the squad and he's a very good footballer, I'm gonna go for the double chance for Georgia. And if I feel happy about Georgia and if I feel like I can win it, maybe in a couple of days I'm gonna change my mind and go for a Georgia to win 330.
Also, good start for 𝐿𝗵𝐿𝐴. It's going to be interesting to see him under Antonio Conte, how he develops. So far, so good, we have to say, for 𝐿𝗵𝐿𝐴, apart from the first game with Napoli that they lost, but after that it's a good start for 𝐿𝗵𝐿𝐴. Then next game, Germany-Hungary. We saw this game in the Euros. Germany won 2-0. They were also in the same group in the last Nations League, where Hungary was very competitive. That's why England, they are in League 2 in this Nations League. But we saw a great Germany in the Euros, completely changed with Nagelsmann. Now they have to adapt again to not having Toni Kroos, Alvaro.
Yeah, and a few more players that are not there anymore. I'm talking, for example, about 𝐬𝐭𝐴𝐵. Is not there either. I know that Germany always brings in new talent, and Julian Nagelsmann is more than happy to use the new talent as well. He's not scared of doing it. But this Germany is not going to look like the Germany we know, with Kroos, Gundogan, Manuel Neuer is not there. Obviously, Thomas Müller is not there either. We knew about that. Goretzka has been dropped, and I think that there is a little bit of a decline in his career that has to be said as well. But it's not that German football is in a bad place. They will have 5 representatives in the Champions League. I think that Bayer Leverkusen was one of the refreshing novelties of the last season, and they will stay competitive this year too. But Germany, as a team, has been playing really well sometimes. I remember that their first game against Scotland in the Euros was phenomenal. Against Spain, they were the best opponent that Spain found on their way to winning the Euros. But if you look at their numbers with a very cold eye, the truth is that they are yet to progress in a Nations League group. And they haven't progressed the group stage in the last 2 World Cups. So there are 2 Germanys in there. The one that brings very good players. At club level, they are doing very well. But still, it's like Germany has lost a little bit of competitiveness and they have to regain it. I don't know how that's going to be. But this is the task for Julian Nagelsmann. But yeah, they are favorite in this game. I'm going to back them because Hungary in the Euros, they were slightly disappointing for me. They didn't manage to be very competitive, even though against Germany they were all right in the Euros. But then I remember them losing against Switzerland, and they deserve to lose by a bigger margin. They have a problem to play from the back. Then they are very reliant on 𝐬𝐵𝐵𝐿 𝗶𝗏, who plays differently for Hungary, maybe with a little bit more freedom, but still the quality of Germany should prevail. So I'm going to back Germany to win and over 2.5 goals in the game. I think Germany has the capacity to inflict a similar defeat to what they did against Scotland. Obviously, keeping in mind that Hungary right now is better than the Scottish side. That would pay 208, and I think that the money is pretty decent.
It was another Germany, but as I said, these teams also played in the Nations League, and Hungary was able to win in German soil. Was in September 2022, Ronan.
Yeah, well, they won 1-0 in Leipzig. It was a big win after they had drawn 1-1 in Budapest. So they have history on their side here. But Alvaro said there's two Germanys, and I don't think we've seen that since 1989. So with Toni Kroos gone as well from the national team, there's no more East Germany anymore. So hopefully the united Germany that Nagelsmann can form in this game can pick up 3 points, because he has to build for the World Cup, and that's the job he's been given. And he was tipped with various managerial jobs. He decided to stay on as the Germany coach, and now he has to build for the World Cup, and he's without kind of these big names like Alvaro listed out. There's huge names. Toni Kroos is obviously, he was such a difference maker coming back for the Euros to play for them. And I think in Pavlovic from Bayern Munich, he sees him as maybe the successor to Kroos in the national team. So I would expect to see him a lot for Bayern Munich and a lot for Germany in the near future, because they have to see whether he can step into that mold. Because if you look at his kind of passing statistics, they're almost as good as Kroos's. So they need someone who can be that kind of pendulum player in midfield that can help them dominate teams, because for years now they've been trying to find different strikers, a bit like Italy. They haven't had this kind of striker that you could rely on to score every game. And Timo Werner was even someone that was considered the next one, and we see what happened with him. So Germany have to get kind of goals and provide chances from elsewhere and create elsewhere. But I think playing Hungary coming out of the Euros, it's ideal for them, because they look better, much better than Hungary at the Euros. Hungary didn't really show up like we've seen them in the past. Like Alvaro said, they rely maybe too much on 𝗁𝗁, who's obviously having a great season so far under Arne Slot at Liverpool, but it's a different kind of environment for him to go from that to being every expectation is going to be put on him here, and it's going to be very difficult for him. And I think Germany, they should have enough about them, because they have a lot of continuity from that Euro squad. Angelo Stiller is the only uncapped player in the squad, only uncapped outfielder, I should say. They have 2 uncapped goalkeepers, but Ter Stegen will be in goal, and we know how good he is. So they should be fine there. And I think it's hard to look past the Germany win here. I think Germany will score a lot, like Alvaro said. So Germany to score in both halves, 1.95 looks good. Total goals over 3, 1.99. But I'm just going for half-time, full-time, home for Germany. I think they'll score early and hold on to win.
All right, and the last game we are going to analyze, probably the hottest games of this match day one in the Nations League. Ireland, England, they are in League 2. In this Nations League, they got relegated in the past, and they are facing a new era without Gareth Southgate, with a new interim manager, Lee Carsley, with some new faces, Livramento, Gomez, Madueke, for instance, and Ireland also with former Iceland boss Hallgrímsson taking care of the team. Ronan, you are going to the stadium, I guess. What is your feeling? What are your feelings about this game? Hot game, no? Very special game for Irish people.
Yeah, it's a spicy game. In the past, some of the Ireland-England games that have been played in Dublin have been put on early in the day, so fans couldn't get too drunk beforehand, but this one's on at 5 o'clock, so I think some of the fans will be in full voice by the time kick-off happens, and we'll have to see what happens when the English national anthem is played at the Aviva Stadium. And then if Declan Rice starts, how much of a welcome he will get as a 3-time Ireland international before he decided to stop playing for Ireland and play for England. If Callum Robinson lines out for Ireland, I don't think it'll be such a problem because he played at under 20 level for England. It's not quite the same as playing at senior international level, and I don't think England fans would be worried too much about having lost him. But Declan Rice, an 100 million midfielder, and Jack Grealish, another 100 million player. He's a former Ireland under 21 player, so it could be quite hostile if both of those players are on the pitch, which could feed into Ireland's chances in this one because the new manager, the former Iceland boss, he's obviously beaten Ireland he's beaten England at the Euros before, so he knows what it takes to beat them. But he's been looking for kind of a return to the Ireland of old. The previous manager, Stephen Kenny, wanted to play exciting football. It didn't really happen. He wants a more return to this kind of hard-working, tough-to-beat Ireland that we've seen in the past. He was talking that he needed some sort of animal player in midfield to kind of dominate in there. So Jason Malumbi might be called into that position, but Jason Malumbi isn't the same as the players that England have to call on in midfield. So it's going to be very difficult for Ireland. I think they will try and make things hard for England in this game. But 𝐬𝐿𝐴, having read what he said about Ireland in the past, having hoped he would become the Ireland national team manager, having looked at how he did with England under 21s and what kind of football he had them playing, I think it's the perfect dress rehearsal for him to try and get the international job, because that's what happened for 𝐜𝐨𝐧𝐧𝐞𝐜. He was a caretaker boss and then he became the permanent international manager. And I think 𝐬𝐿𝐴 can record a big win over Ireland in Dublin. Pains me to say it, but I think England can win big in this game because Ireland, their midfield doesn't look great. Josh Cullen is absent. Their goalkeepers, 𝐶𝐞𝐭𝐬 Kelleher, will start in goal, and he doesn't start in the Premier League for Liverpool. So the goalkeepers are kind of bench players. This isn't the Ireland team of the past. These are kind of championship players, bottom of the half of the Premier League players. These aren't a team that England have anything to worry about. And 𝐬𝐿𝐴, I think he'll have them well drilled. I think England can win big here, and it could be a long evening for me in Dublin on Saturday watching this one. So England to win looks good here. England clean sheet even 1.87 could be an option because Ireland don't score a lot of goals. They obviously beat Hungary before the Euros, but that was the only goals Ireland scored this year. So Ireland don't score a lot of goals. Adam Idah hasn't really been starting. He's just got to move to Celtic. Troy Parrott, he's a great potential player, but we haven't kind of seen him do it for Ireland as we would hoped when he was coming through at Tottenham. And Evan Ferguson, the Brighton great white hope, he hasn't played at all for Brighton this season because he's injured, but he's still in the squad, so I wouldn't expect him to feature because it would be very bad for Ireland if he were to get injured having not played for Brighton. So both teams to score no here. 1.67 is another option. I don't think Ireland are going to do anything whatsoever in this match. So England to win to 0 is my tip for this one, 2.25.
Well, drink a Guinness at least, Ronan, and enjoy the football game. The numbers for Ireland are not good. Alvaro, in the road to the Euros, I'm sure you watch Greece-Ireland. Ireland lost both games. They were only able to beat Gibraltar. And do you expect a different England from the one we saw with Southgate?
That's a good question. I think that the thing that disappointed me most about England during the stint of Gareth Southgate is that whenever they scored first, then they didn't go for the second in big games, obviously, because in the group stage it's very easy to bully. Not in the group stage, sorry, in a qualification, it's very easy to bully one of your opponents, right? If you play against Montenegro at home and you score the first, automatically you want more. But in big tournaments, England was never going at it for the second goal, and that costed them. Like, for example, in the Euro 2021 final against Italy, I want to see if with 𝐬𝐿𝐴 during this period, which we still don't know how long it's going to be, England is going to be a little bit more daring. I have no reason to believe no, because I saw England playing again under 𝐬𝐿𝐴 in the under 21 tournament in 2023, which they won, by the way, and they were a little bit more attacking minded than the senior team. I'm really looking forward to seeing the new players, 𝐬𝐿𝐴 playing for England, 𝐬𝐭𝐚𝐲, a player that I don't know a lot about. I know that he plays in France for Lille, that he was last season the joint most assist provider in Ligue 1, and that Nani is his godfather, by the way, something that I have no clue about, but I was checking yesterday and was like, okay, this is nice. And Rico Lewis will have a chance to play as a right back maybe, because Walker is not there, Trent Alexander-Arnold, can play as a midfielder too. Maybe Rico Lewis has a chance because he has got a very good start of the season. But, no Bellingham, no Walker, a few absences for England, still a very good squad if you go player by player. And when it comes to Ireland, look, they haven't played a lot of international games against England as of late, 4 since 1991, I think. And the last competitive game they played against England was in 1991, which is not a lot, but thanks to the Nations League and this format, at least, more official games happen between sides like this. So this game, 7 years ago, maybe would have been a friendly. Now the Nations League is here. It's not a friendly anymore, even though there is a little bit of a friendly vibe about it, especially for the big sides. And I want to see how it goes. True that Ivan Ferguson is in the squad, but as Ronan says, he's not playing for Brighton these days. And I really like this player. But is he going to be the threat that Ireland needs to beat England or to score against England? Maybe not yet. Maybe not yet. Same thing applies for 𝐬𝐿𝐴, who scored against Manchester City for 𝐬𝐿𝐴. But still, I don't think that he is that good. So maybe a clean sheet for England. I totally agree with Ronan. That was my pick. A clean sheet for England, 187. That's something I will be looking at, yeah.
Well, a lot of tips, a lot of information for this new international break in Europe. Alvaro, there are so many games. Which one is your best bet?
It would be Spain to win, 162.
And Ronan, Ireland to win?
Ireland to win 5-0, yeah, at 400 to 1 probably. I'm sticking with Alvaro and going for Spain Asian handicap minus a quarter. That's 140.
Okay, the European champions. Ronan, your ACCA?
Spain win, Germany win, and England win at 3.25.
Good one for favorites. Alvaro, yours?
Spain to win and France to win. Altogether, 277.
Okay, thank you, Alvaro. Thanks, Ronan. Thanks, everyone, for watching. Let's have fun with the international break. Bye-bye.